Hi, I'm Steve, steve@maxforums.org, and Strat apparently requested some information about what diaphragma, ISO, aperture and all that kind of stuff is. So here's a basic video, filmed with my Canon, and I'm just gonna show it. As you can see here, only my watch is sharp and the background is like faded away. It's unsharp, out of focus, and this is because the focus is on the watch. So if I adjust the focus, then you can see, now you can see my mobile phone over there, and my watch is, you won't even recognize it. So that's the focus, something you probably already knew, pretty sure actually. And what we're gonna adjust now is the diaphragma. Well, one thing will also change, because if you change the diaphragma, two things happen. First off, it gets darker and the whole scene becomes brighter. So what you see here is that my watch is sharp and my mobile phone is actually pretty sharp as well. You can actually adjust it so both of them almost get as sharp as it can get, like now. So that's what your diaphragma does. Usually you want to have your diaphragma as open as possible, because the more light will enter. Now I'm going to tell you something about shutter time, and usually shutter time is more important for, well, it's more obvious in photography, but I'm going to show it anyway with my camera. So what we have now, let's take something interesting. It's a shutter time of, and it's really gonna suck, 1/30th of a second. So that's actually pretty long for a photo. Shutters open pretty long, and as you can see, if I move, you have a lot of motion blur. The image is not really sharp. So actually, if you try to make one picture and you hold it still, you make a little movement, the whole picture will be blurry and moved. So if I change the shutter time to, let's say, 1/400th of a second, I have to adjust the other settings, then you can see the picture is quite relatively sharp. Well, whatever is sharp, that will remain pretty sharp. Even if you move a little bit, you can still see the detail, otherwise you won't. Well, it's the same with a photo. So if the shutter time is shorter, then the motion blur will be less. Okay, now we're going to do the ISO. ISO usually only adjusts how bright the image is. So the higher the ISO, the brighter the picture. And sometimes when the environment is really dark, you want to put the ISO something higher, but still you also want to keep it as low as possible. So what you can do is adjust the shutter time, so the picture will be bright, but the shutter time will be not too long, otherwise you will have a moved picture. Keep a low diaphragma, because the higher the diaphragma, the darker it is. And then you adjust the ISO so you have it the way you want it. This is an ISO of 12,000 something. You can see it's pretty bright. And I think you can also see on the computer that there is a lot of noise in there. Well, if we go to an ISO of, let's say, 800, I'll adjust it so it's a bit brighter. Now there should be less noise. So basically, ISO, the higher the ISO, the brighter your picture, so the lower shutter time you can use, but also the more noise, and that's something you probably want to avoid, so keep the ISO as low as possible. So you always have to have a balance between shutter time, diaphragma and ISO, so that you have a perfect balance between dark and light, because you don't want to over or underexpose your picture. And as you can see, this is pretty much overexposed. So here I could adjust the shutter time, for example. That's it. Hope you learned something from it, and hope you can actually understand my English. Cheers!